Zbigniew Religa was raised as an only child in a village near a lake. His favorite writers were Hemingway, Volker, Steinbeck, Camus and Sartre. First, he wanted to study philosophy, but then, under his parents' influence, he changed his mind and chose medical studies. He met his wife Anna at university, where they both studied medicine. They had 2 children, son Grzegorz, who became a heart surgeon like his father, and daughter Małgorzata. What's interesting, Anna's father was a doctor and her brother was also a heart surgeon. Religa didn't have much time for his family. He literally lived in his hospital in Zabrze, where his heart and soul were. His job was everything to him. He completely sacrificed himself. His wife knew that, and although she wasn't very happy about such a situation, she understood it.
After graduating from university, he was working in Wolski Hospital, where he qualified in surgery and completed his knowledge. He gained valuable experience during scientific training on vascular surgery in New York and cardiac surgery in Detroit. He obtained a PhD degree in 1973 and postdoctoral degree in 1981. From 1980 to 1984, he was working as a reader at Warsaw Institute of Cardiology, where he was planning to do his first surgery, but the director of the hospital didn't give him a permission. In 1984, the young doctor came to the cardiology center in Zabrze as a director. This was where he performed the first heart operation, which was followed with the first successful heart transplantation in Poland. In 1990, he became a lecturer at Medical Academy in Katowice, where 6 years later he got a position of a rector. He created a foundation of the development of cardiac surgery, which deals with the newest methods of curing heart diseases and training medical personnel. In 1995, the Polish president Lech Wałęsa gave him the title of the professor in medical science. In 2001, he became the director of the Institute of Cardiology in Warsaw.
Jan Moll was the first doctor in Poland who tried to perform a heart transplant operation. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed. Religa was inspired by him and he decided to open his own cardiac clinic because his boss didn't even want to listen about heart transplants. He was desperate and was looking for money everywhere. Despite a lot of problems, he finally opened the clinic. Religa worked with his friends, doctors and nurses, who supported his plans. They created the clinic all by themselves, by doing all renovation jobs such as painting the walls, doing the floor, or carrying the medical equipment. Together they fought with everyone in Poland who disagreed with their idea. These were doctors, the authority, ordinary people and the media. After a few unsuccessful heart transplant operations, Religa was even called a murderer and accused of playing with people's lives. Some doctors speaking on TV and giving interviews in newspapers were completely against him and his actions. He was well known, but not in a good way. He also had problems with finding hairs he could transplant. Medical commissions didn't hurry with issuing an opinion about brain death, so sometimes patients died due to lack of time and available hearts. Everything changed in 1985. On the 5th of November 1985, there was the first heart transplant operation that turned out to be successful. Then some others followed. His most famous surgery, performed in 1987, lasted for 23 hours and was very tiring for both Religa and his team. One picture shows Religa after the operation, looking at the patient's vital signs. The photo was taken in 1987 by James Stanfield, a photographer of National Geographic, and it was chosen by National Geographic as the best picture of 1987. In the right corner, we can see one of Religa's many colleagues who helped him with the surgery. That night there were 2 heart transplant operations. The patient in the picture survived, unlike the other one. Religa's assistant had to go looking for 2 healthy hearts for 2 patients, so it's not a big surprise he was so exhausted.
The patient, Tadeusz Zbigniew, has been living with Religa's heart for 27 years. He's the longest living patient after a heart transplant operation. He said, "Dr. Religa saved my life when other doctors said that nothing could be done. I was about 61 and according to other doctors, I was too old for a transplant. Now Tadeusz Zbigniew is 88 years old."
Not only will Dr. Religa be remembered as the founder of Polish transplantology, but also as the inventor of the Polish artificial human heart. He was an innovator. He was the first doctor who transplanted a pig heart into a dying patient, and he was the first to implant an artificial heart.
Religa's patients said that he was a saint, but he also had some weaknesses. He was a heavy smoker, had problems with alcohol and using vulgar words, so maybe he wasn't as saint as they said he was, but definitely he was a great doctor that will be remembered by a lot of people. A nurse, Hannah Miller, who helped him during his operations, describes him as unbelievable. He was very focused before the surgery. When washing his hands, he was thinking about the operation. But during the operation, he changed his behavior. He was telling jokes, he was singing, and generally he was very relaxed. Of course, when the surgery was going wrong, he was swearing a lot. Religa was a big fan of jazz. Even during his operations, the music was being played. It was always Louis Armstrong. But if nurses forgot to turn the music on, he was singing himself and, what's more, he was singing totally out of tune.
On the 30th of May 2007, he confirmed the information provided by the media about his disease. It was a lung cancer. He underwent several surgeries and 2 series of chemotherapy. He died on the 8th of March 2009. He was buried 5 days later at Powązki Military Cemetery in Warsaw. It was a secular ceremony attended by over 1,000 people. At the funeral, Religa's favorite song, What a Wonderful World, was played. His death has shaken the whole Poland. Such prominent people live an empty space for a long time, said Prime Minister Donald Tusk about the professor, who will remain fixed in the memories of many grateful people.
Zbigniew Religa an inspiration. Definitely he is. Not only for us young people hoping to become doctors in the future, but also for artists. Polish director Łukasz Polkowski made a film entitled God, which is based on the story of Dr. Religa, the self-made man who, despite the harsh communism reality, realized his professional dream. The gods of the title are Zbigniew Religa and the other doctors who worked with him.
What a wonderful world.